here we are. It's mushroom day at Feltalala. Thanks for joining us on the back porch. Today we're making a mushroom garland. It started out when a customer who had the acorns wanted to mix the acorns with the mushrooms on a garland. So I made these little tiny 1-inch guys so they were the same size. And there's a video for them. Just look for it on our channel for the little mushrooms. But I felt like for a beginner, the little one might be a little too little. It might be frustrating. So we went to making the large ones. And then I thought, isn't it nice to mix them up? So go ahead, make all small ones, make large ones, make some of each, which I've ended up doing. However you want to do it. Get the acorn kit, mix the acorns with the mushrooms. That's a nice woodland decoration for your home. It would look good on a Christmas tree, Thanksgiving decorations. I leave mine up all year round because I just love bringing the outside in. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by details. Okay, so here's a finished example of one of the big ones. We have a little mossy end. This fly agaric mushroom has a knobbly little end. There's a veil here, a veil remnant. As it's growing, it's in a sac, and then it bursts out of the sac. So often you have a bit of sac at the bottom too. But this top part was once a sac, and this is what's left. This remnant of the veil is left on the stem, and it was originally attached to these little bits at the top. In real life, the real mushroom, not the felted one. But we're recreating it in felt because what fun. Okay, so let's make one more big one. Then we'll have 5 large ones and 5 small ones for our garland. This is way too much wool, I think. I love the core wool. It's a little less processed. You'll find some debris in it sometimes. I've gone through before I sent it to you and picked some out, but still, there might be some left. These mushrooms grew in the forest floor, so if there's a little debris in them, I don't think it's bad. But the core wool, it's early in the processing stage, right? So it is, the fibers are all jumbled up together, which makes it perfect for needle felting. That helps you to felt more quickly and gives you a firmer felt. It's the one I like for most things. There are a few things that I do want roving for, animal's fur, and for the veil that we're going to do today. So you'll mostly have been sent the core wool, but you'll be sent a little roving for the veil. Okay, so here's my core wool. It's probably too much, like that. So we make shapes, we make balls, we make circles, we make tubular shapes. For the tubular shapes, I really recommend your best friend is a skewer. And let's look at the length of this. The length of these guys is about 2 inches. And there'll be a little bit more for attaching it, but if we start at about 2 inches, that's going to be right. When you do this, when you roll it, it always gets longer every single time. So we'll start at 2. We'll probably end up with significantly more. So there's 2. There's the barbs on the needle. If you're not a beginner, fast forward a little bit. But if you're a beginner, so these barbs on the needle, when you felt in, they grab the barbs on the wool and it causes them to tangle together. And it's with that tangling that we're able to create sculptures with this. We can make all kinds of shapes. So with the needle, you don't want to break the 2 things you don't want to do. Break your needle, stab yourself. So breaking your needle will happen if you try to bend it. You want to be straight in and out. You can be straight in and out on a horizontal on a diagonal, but go out the way you came in. Don't try to change direction. And when you're coming up to the skewer here, don't go into the skewer. You'll break your needle. Go beside it. Go beside the skewer. And then when I've done that, I've pushed the fibers into my felting pad. So it will stick, it will adhere to it, right? So you have to lift it up. So as you're going, just keep doing that. Keep lifting it up. This is the felting pad that I have sent you. This is a silicone sponge. It's enough for these small little beginner projects. As you get more dedicated, more obsessed, you might want to invest in a wool buddy. I love mine. I use it all the time. I always tell myself I'm going to make myself my own felting pad, but there are so many things to felt. I will eventually. So you see, it's felted into the pad again. So lift that up to detach it, and then I'm going to try to keep it tight to the skewer and twist it up a bit, twist it in a bit, and you can see already we're up to 3 inches. And we're going to want one end to be looser for the attaching end, and we're going to want one end to have more of a bulb to it, which if we don't accomplish that at this stage, we can add more. But I'm going to try to be heavier on this end. It's going to be my bulb end. And try to just twirl in a little bit more wool on that end. So I'm just twisting it in. So our tools are our needles, but also our hands. I think I'll tighten this up here just to make that twisting a little easier. Remembering that I want that top to be a little loose. I'm going to just need a little bit that's loose. I'm going to twist around. Round. Round. So when I do this, the friction and the moisture from my hands does like a pre-felt to it. And you see I do have a bit of debris here. I'll take that out. Though it wouldn't look out of place on a mushroom. Twist. I want to seriously twist this on. Looser up there though. Not too much at that end. I pull it off. So this loose end, I'll let it remain loose. So we'll use these fibers to attach the top. But then this bottom, I want it to be kind of bulby. This. And if you come out and you find yours is pretty straight top to bottom, that's okay. You can build on. You can create this bulb after the fact by adding, just taking a bit of wool and wrapping it around. Say this is yours, it's straight. Just wrap it around, and then you'll felt that in one thin layer after another until you get the bulb shape that you like. Because mine got a little long and I was able to fold it, I think I'm getting the bulb. So I can see this fold here. I'm not going to want to see it, so I'm going to do some of these horizontal stabs across to try to make that disappear. This is a nice little mushroom stem. You want this to be curvy, this bottom. So I like this if you have a seam there and you don't like it, this will show you what I meant before. You just take a little bit of the core wool. It's a little bit at a time. And just add a layer. We wanted a bulb anyway, so it's okay that we have a little bit more at the bottom. So the more you stab it, the smoother it's going to be, the more firm your structure is going to be. So spend some time with it. All right, now the height we said that we were looking for is about 2 inches. Let's go to there. He's a little bit longer. That's okay. I'm going to lose a little bit here, just pulling it so that I have that for attaching. And then the other piece that I want to do with this bottom is I want to give him a little mossy forest floor, just right on the tip, right where we pulled him out of the earth. Nothing has to be exact about this. Each mushroom, as it's pulled from the earth, will have a different pattern of moss. So now our next step is to create a veil. So we talked about this core wool, the short fibers, the short tangled fibers, and this here is more of a roving, the long aligned fibers. I primarily work with the core wool, but roving is good for a few things. It's good for pet fur, and it's definitely good for this veil fragment that we're trying to create. Okay, so have a nice. I'm going to want this to go around the edge, not too much more, so. Just going to rub this a bit, again with that whole pre-felting idea. So then the veil is going to attach. Give yourself about a finger's width from the top, because you want to be able to see it. And then just this top edge, just attach this top bit. Leave this other bit hanging, not attached. We'll go all the way around. Okay. So we've just attached the top edge, that I'm going to pinch that bottom edge up a bit so that I get this. Right? This little cotton candy swirl around the top. And I want some more of these bits to come off. Okay. hands here. And this is a spot where the mat that I've sent you is actually perfect. Because we can put it here and then put the mushroom right up against it, right to the edge of that veil. And now we're going to felt that veil a little bit. I want it to be thin. I want it to be just this diaphanous, tiny little piece of the mushroom. So felt gently, keep lifting it up. If you felt it firmly into your mat, then when you pull it up, it will probably tear and you'll have to start again. So this is a very delicate piece. See, even that was a little bit too much. So just try to get a few taps in and turn, and then get a few taps in. Turn, you can coax those edges around. If it's sticking like this, maybe use your needle to separate it. A few taps in and turn. And then when you do your second pass, it's going to be a little firmer. So a little less teary, a little easier to work with. So I use my fingers now just to pinch that. I'm just going to keep turning and tapping gently as can be. And at this point where it is attached, you can even be a little bit further away on this end from your sponge and felt in. That to be just completely light and delicate. So that is our stem. Very nice little stem. Next step is the top. So we go back to our core, and we're going to pull off a piece about this large and roll it up. So to make our cap, we have a piece of our core wool that we just gently roll into a ball kind of shape, and that's going to help us. It's going to be pretty simple to then turn that into the circle for the cap. I like the cap to be about the same size as the stem. I find that works nicely. So it's up to you. You just take a look at whatever stem size you've made and compare it to your cap. And I think we're about right there. Are mushroom caps perfectly round? Not necessarily. You don't worry about perfection in this. Or do worry about perfection if that's your thing. If that's what you want, then you go for it. This is all about you. The felting time is about you, about making beautiful things, enjoying the moment. It really does bring you into the moment with that tap, 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 tap. It's very slow craft. We're not rushing. So now we want to lift this up, right? Because it was becoming attached. And you see when I pulled it out, it lost a bit of its shape. So probably should have pulled it up earlier. Things will lose their shape if you over attach them to the bottom. And yes, you can get it back again, no problem. But it makes a little extra work for you. Is any of it work? No. You see that the shape that we want is going to be like a domed shape. This one shows it more so. That's really That's the shape. There we go again. But we're going to build that center up a bit. We also want it to be firm. It doesn't have to be solid as a rock, but you want it to be firm enough that you can felt onto it. If your felting is loosey-loosey, it's really hard to put elements, decorative elements on, details. Okay, I like where that's at. So now we want the red center. The fly agaric mushrooms come in red, orange, yellow, all these different colors. Here we have a red that has a bit of other color in it, which I like. I think that it gives the mushroom some shadow, some depth. It's really not, when you look at fly agarics, they're really not cherry red with polka dots, right? They're more complex color with the dots are more like scales left over from that veil remnants. I don't want to felt too firmly, too vigorously, and lose my dome shape. Although if you do, that's fine. You just add some more layers. And we're always adding very small bits at a time. Okay, that looks good to me for red center. Red center with a dome. And now we have this muted yellow gold, which we'll use to edge the red. That kind of blends the red into the white. And just keep working it until you get it exactly where you want it, where it's as smooth as you want it to be. You've got all the little fluffies in, and then we're going to come along the outside edge and define that a little more, smooth that out. Just by gently, cautiously, don't stab yourself, belting in that edge. See how this is making a nice edge? Let's have a look here. Do a little shaping with my hand. I feel like I have a nice mushroom cap there. So, because when I attach the bottom, I'm going to be pushing that top in a little bit. I don't want to put the white dots on until after I've done that. Okay, so see these bits? These are the bits that we're going to use to attach. So I've created a center when I did that with my thumb. We'll push that in and then just felt those bits. Gently, you don't want to, the other thing you don't want to do is push the white up through the red. You could choose to put the red on after doing this if you do one and you say, hey, I don't like how that worked. Okay, just work that for a while. You want the cap to be firmly on. You don't want the cap to pop off. Last thing needed is some little scales at the top. When we attach it to the garland, if that's what you're doing, if you're doing the garland, really if you're doing individual ornaments as well, you'll do the same thing. They're going to be felted into the very tip. So avoid the very tip. Looking at this in this other light, I feel like I have a bit of a bald spot there. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to layer a tiny bit more on. Just there. So when you have a look, if there's anything that you feel, I don't love that, you go ahead and change it. This time is for you. This craft is for you. Making beautiful things. There. Much happier with that. Okay. So back to this. With the white dots, the white scales, you want almost nothing. That there is really enough for two, right? So I have almost nothing here. And then I roll it up. And I have more than nothing. And I'm going to gently attach it. Gently. I don't want to have indents in my cap because I've been too harsh with attaching the scale. There's one. Almost nothing. This one here, again, is almost too much. That could be two. And yes, they will blow away on you. And where did that go? It was tiny. Tiny little scale right there. Another tiny little scale. I'm going to put it over that dot, which is a little blue, and that the blue will create a shadow. A little more, almost nothing. Tiny, tiny. It's a delicate scale on the top. Oh, this guy was a little bit more robust, which is okay. You can have some that are larger. Decide how many you want to put on. They're not in concentric circles or anything like that. Just attach them kind of at random. I think maybe two more. Two more will be plenty. Now have a look at him. Spend some time perfecting. You could easily spend an hour on one of these mushrooms at this stage, just working in every little detail until you've got him exactly right. And this is a gilled mushroom, but we're not giving it gills. I think that's, for this level, that's excessive. I'm very interested in doing some, as a 20-plus year forager, doing some really anatomically, would that be right? Correct? Mushrooms. And we'll make them a little bigger and really drill down on details. But this is for our little garland. Okay. So I'm placing mine about 3 inches apart, leaving a bit at the end for tying, and then about 3 inches apart. I've made 10. I've made 5 small and 5 large. It's in 3 inches from here. I sent you wool. It's not acrylic. The acrylic, because we're going to felt this into the top. So I want it to be actual wool. And I'm just going to pull this apart a little bit. Right, to make it extra feltable. And this goes right near the center. You decide. I'm thinking here. I'm thinking right there. Okay. And then I gently, it doesn't hurt to fold him over a bit now. I'm going to gently felt those fibers together. It weighs very little. It doesn't really need a lot to adhere it. But I also don't want it to fall off. So I want to make sure it's in there tightly. Okay. And then when you look at it, if you say, hey, I don't like that. I don't like that indent there. I think that's ruined the shape of my mushroom. Ta-da! A little bit of Band-Aid. I just felt a little bit of red over the top. And what that will do is give you back that shape that you were enjoying. And it also makes it a little firmer, right? Because now these fibers are holding it in. See? For your garland. And if one layer of that is not enough, go ahead, do a second, do a third. Many as you like. I am comfortable with that. So here we are with 4. And in the end, there'll be 10. And that will be my mushroom garland. I do know that maybe I had a little measuring problem here. There's 3 inches. 3.5 inches. So I think that it's nice for the distance to be the same, and maybe I would move this fellow down a little bit, maybe, or maybe just leave it. It's up to you. It's up to you. Measure and be perfect if that speaks to you. Be haphazard if that speaks to you, because it's entirely up to you. With Feltalala, you are in control, and you make beautiful things. Thank you. Join us again soon.